I watch Jessica, and I'm not a fan. And she uses fake numbers. She'll give, well, he's only polling 42%. That's not right.
I think it's inappropriate for a president to be telling a media outlet that they shouldn't have a certain journalist or commentator on air. Up next for our political story today, we're going to check in with President Trump because he just gave an interview with Fox News, with The Five, which is like their flagship, one of their flagship programs. One of the only interesting programs, to me at least, on Fox News, because they usually have like actual different perspectives debating and arguing with each other rather than just an echo chamber. And he just did an interview. President Trump called in and the different hosts all interviewed him. And it's absolutely unhinged. It's like a really, really bonkers interview in so many ways. And I want to play a couple of the clips from it that are going viral and kind of give you my thoughts as we go along here. First, they talked about Jessica Tarlov, who is kind of Fox News's star Democrat. She's not an ultra far leftist, but she's a solid liberal Democrat, and she argues with them and provides a different perspective. And I respect the hell out of her, even though I disagree with her on lots of stuff, because she's always like 1v4. She's always in the lines. And the same way I respect Scott Jennings, who does kind of a similar role, but on Fox News. He's kind of like but on CNN, he's kind of like a token Republican MAGA, and he has to fight like 3 or 4 liberals. I think that takes guts, and I do respect people who stand up for their beliefs in hostile settings. So I respect Jessica. And I also think she's part of what makes The Five interesting, because she argues with Greg Gutfeld and with Jesse Waters, and she creates these viral moments, and she actually offers different exchange of ideas. And that's why it's a much more interesting show and one of the highest rated shows on all of Fox than just Sean Hannity Hour, where he brings on other ultra-Republican types to just agree with him all hour. Like, it's just boring, right? Whereas The Five is actually interesting. And so I was a bit disappointed to see that Jessica was not on that day on The Five. Apparently she had a pre-planned trip or personal time off or something, and she was never going to be on that day. It's not like she just wasn't on for that show. But Trump discussed her, and here's what he had to say.
Mr. President, the next time you do this on The Five, can we have you on set? Because we really want you to sit next to Jessica. I think you'd be a good influence on her. Can you do that?
Well, I think I watch Jessica, and I'm not a fan. And she uses fake numbers. She'll give, well, he's only polling 42%. That's not right. Polling very high, actually. Polls are just like, I hate people that use fake polls, because polls are just like bad journalists. Bad journalists, they write fake stories. Well, fake polls do damage also. But that's the thing. I'm sure I'd like her. I'm sure she's a lovely person.
Yeah, she's a lovely person. She really misses the fact that she's not here. I get it.
Yeah.
We're working on her. Don't worry.
Now, tell me, did she not want to do it, or did you kick her off the show?
We didn't kick her off. She had a previous schedule that she couldn't change. But let me ask you about Iran.
Now, there's also another clip from this same interview where he actually appeared to go even further and suggest that Jessica shouldn't be on the show at all. Let's listen.
The other night, and I do like his show. I like all of your shows, actually. I'm glad Jessica's not there. Because I think, I think your show would be better without her. But, who am I to say that? Isn't that terrible? I think it would be a lot better. But, Kennedy, you're doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
But, we have a filibuster that would give us the right to vote, and we wouldn't need the Democrat votes. And you have a couple of Republicans. But remember this, and you all said it.
So I have a lot of thoughts on Trump's riffing about Jessica Tarlov. One is that I think it's inappropriate for a president to be telling a media outlet that they shouldn't have a certain journalist or commentator on air, especially when that person is a critic. And I understand that Trump's just doing it in his kind of riffing style. But what's more interesting to me is the dichotomy here, that if President Obama had suggested that Sean Hannity should be taken off the air or something like that about one of his critics, I think many Fox News hosts would have screamed bloody murder and said that that's like wildly inappropriate. When Trump does it, they just kind of give it a, oh, guffaw, like, oh, ha, ha, ha. I think it's probably actually not appropriate in either scenario. And to the actual complaint that he made about Jessica, it doesn't make a lot of sense. She's saying she cites fake polls that say I'm only at 42% favorability when I'm actually have amazing high poll. I think you may actually be the one looking at fake polls, Mr. President, because if you go to his average from Real Clear Politics, if you go to the average, like they aggregate a bunch of polls and you look at what his current approval rating is, it is, as of today, 41.1% of Americans approve of his performance and 56.7% disapprove. And then when you look at even very friendly pollsters, their recent polls, Rasmussen Reports, which is a essentially pro-Trump pollster, only has him at 44% approval. Fox News has him at 41% approval rating. So Jessica Tarlov is accurately describing your polling when she says he's polling at about 42% approval. And you're just, in fact, she was even rounding it up a little bit potentially. And yet Trump thinks that that's somehow like she's wrong in citing fake polls when she's actually even confirmed by the polls that are the most favorable to him. That's like crazy that the complaint he has about her is literally wrong and she's correct. And I wish some of her colleagues had maybe stood up for her there. And then two, are his aides showing him fake polls that show him at like 60% approval ratings or something? Because Rasmussen, in the world of polling, is as pro-Trump a poller you can find that's considered remotely reputable. And they have him at 44% approval. So I'm more concerned by that, by anything. The fact that the president may be in just a total echo chamber where his aides are just telling him, they're showing him Twitter polls of like Elon Musk's followers that say like 90% say that Trump is doing amazing or something, and he's confusing that for reality. That's like actually concerning. And there was more in this interview that was kind of bizarre. And I think in anyone else, we would be like, what the hell is this man doing? He was asked a very serious question by Dana Perino, who I've met a couple times. I've been on air with. I think she's, a sharp and serious person. And she asked him a very important question, like, what can you tell us about how the Iranian people are doing? Are they struggling? Are they starving? Are they okay? And he responds by talking about how hot he finds her. I'm not kidding. Listen to this clip.
Do you have any insight as to how they are doing? Do they have drinking water? Do they have food?
Right, I do.
It's upsetting.
I do. But first, do you remember when we had lunch years ago in the base of Trump Tower when it was a brand new building?
It's a long time ago, yes.
A long time ago, and you haven't changed.
Oh.
You have not changed. Now, I'm not allowed to say this. It's the end of my political career, but you may be even better looking, okay? So I don't know what you're doing. But I will not say that.
Makeup has a lot to do with that.
Because
are we pretending this is normal? I'm not gonna. We're at war. The President of the United States, whether you agree with it or not, launched us into a war that has U.S. service members have been killed. Thousands and thousands of people, including Iranian civilians and military and everyone, have lost their lives. And so it's like serious as a heart attack. And he is asked a question. This is the commander-in-chief is asked a question by a journalist on Fox News about whether the Iranian people are struggling. And he responds by talking about how hot the anchor is. This isn't normal. I understand it has been to some extent normalized just by Trump, and he's always been rambly, but I do think he's gotten a lot worse, like a lot. So if you go back and watch him in like the 2016 presidential primaries, the debates and everything, he was so much more articulate and so much less rambly and incoherent than he is now. And I just find it incredibly concerning. And I think there's like this kid gloves where they just, conservative media, right-wing YouTubers, and everybody just looks the other way or just pretends that this is fine or grades him on such a different scale when Biden, and I agreed, was making gaffes and seeming old and seeming incoherent and rambly. It was considered like a huge deal, and rightfully so. This is the dude with the nuclear codes, with the fate of humanity carried in a briefcase around him at all times. And is he like sundowning? I don't know. I mean, but at some point, he's either just choosing to behave in ways that are totally inappropriate and improper, for a wartime president, or he's like starting to experience some actual cognitive decline. I mean, he's old and he's not exactly a paragon of health. The guy who drinks like 10 Diet Cokes a day. And literally, one of my favorite esoteric Trump takes is that he thinks exercise is bad for you. And like, he has a whole theory about how exercise it like saps your lifetime energy. It's bonkers stuff. But more importantly, it's like, I don't find this funny, and I'm sick of the thing that people do where they just judge him on a totally different scale than every single other politician, when actually he is the president of the United States. He's the commander in chief of our military during a war where Americans have lost their lives, and I don't, in fact, think it's appropriate for him to be rambling about a news anchor's looks and how hot she is and how she's somehow gotten hotter over the years when asked about the state of that war and the devastation it's wreaking on a civilian population. Call me a woke lib if you want. Call me a Trump derangement syndrome victim. You can say that if you want. That's fine. I'm just giving you my honest opinion on this latest interview with Trump that's going viral from Fox. That's what I do here. And if you guys disagree, that's okay. I'm always open to hearing your opinion in the comments. I don't, in fact, think I'm wrong. But of course, if I did, I wouldn't be saying what I'm saying.